All right, let's talk about something pretty wild. Imagine taking your 10-year plan and crushing it in just 10 weeks. Sounds kind of impossible, right? Well, that's the core promise of a concept called quantum jumping. Today we're going to break it all down, not as some vague spiritual idea, but as a practical, step-by-step method for making huge changes in your life and doing it fast. Okay, so let's get right into it. What's the big idea behind this? Well, the central promise of quantum jumping is pretty bold, to say the least. It's basically saying you can skip years of grinding and struggle and get to your goals in a tiny fraction of the usual time.
Yeah, this is the hook, right? The whole idea is that the slow, steady, conventional path, well, it's optional. The claim is that you can literally compress the timeline for your biggest goals. We're talking career, health, creative projects, you name it.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are probably thinking. This all sounds a little out there, right? And look, the source material actually gets that. It argues that the reason these kinds of ideas often fail is because they're just vague concepts with no real how-to. But this is different. It's framed as a simple, actionable, step-by-step method that anyone can supposedly follow.
So, the big question is, how in the world is this supposed to work? Well, the fundamental idea isn't about slowly, painfully building a new version of yourself from the ground up. It's way more radical. It's about making an instant switch, a kind of shift in your whole perspective that just changes everything in a moment.
And this is where you really have to wrap your head around a new way of thinking. The theory goes like this. You're not creating a new successful you. No, you're just selecting and tuning into a version of yourself that already exists, just in a parallel reality. Seriously, think of it like changing the channel on a TV. The show is already playing, you just have to tune in.
The source material has a pretty cool analogy for this. Think about an actor, right? On one TV channel, they're playing the villain. You flip the channel, and on another, they're the hero. It's the exact same person, just playing different roles that exist at the same time. Well, the idea here is that infinite versions of you also coexist, right now. The millionaire you, the super healthy you, the successful artist you, they're all out there. And the only thing separating you from them is their frequency.
And to ground this whole idea in something a bit more tangible, the source brings up this classic quote from Nikola Tesla. The key takeaway is right there. Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's the proposed engine, the mechanism that's supposed to let you make that jump. So here's how that engine is supposed to work, broken down into a really simple formula. Your frequency is basically the energetic signal you're sending out all the time. And what creates that signal? It's a combination of your thoughts and your beliefs. So here's the bottom line. If you want to change what's happening on the outside, in your reality, you have to start by changing your internal frequency first. It's an inside job.
Okay, that's all great in theory, but how do you actually do it? I mean, if everything hinges on changing your internal frequency, how do you pull that off? Well, this is where it gets practical. The source lays out a toolkit with 4 specific tools designed to do exactly that. So here they are, the 4 tools for making a quantum jump. Each one is designed to help you consciously shift your frequency and start, living from the reality you actually want. Let's break them down one by one.
All right, tool number 1, visualization. But wait, there's a huge twist here. Most of us, when we visualize, we picture the big, exciting moment, right? The thrill of getting the new car or the dream house. Well, according to this, that's actually the wrong way to do it. Why? Because that excitement comes from a place of not having it yet. Instead, you need to visualize the feeling of already being that person. For them, that car is just their car. It's normal. It's their everyday reality. It's that calm, ordinary, this is just my life feeling. That's the frequency you need to tap in.
Okay, tool number 2 is all about changing your point of reference. Think about it. Your brain figures out what's normal based on what's around you. So if all your friends are complaining and all you see is news about struggle, guess what your brain thinks is normal? The key here is to consciously curate your inputs. You have to immerse yourself in success stories, biographies, podcasts, whatever. Find communities where your biggest, wildest goals are just Tuesday. You have to make your goal feel normal.
But what if your goal just feels way too big? Like you're trying to believe it, but your brain is screaming, no way. That's where tool number 3, the law of the ladder, comes in. See, the idea is you can only really attract a reality that you genuinely, deep down, believe is possible. So trying to jump from a 9-to-5 straight to being a millionaire is probably too big of a leap for your belief system. Instead, you build a ladder.
You focus only on the very next believable step up. Once you hit that, then you can start focusing on the next rung, and so on and so on.
And finally, we've got tool number 4, and this one might be the most counterintuitive of all. Act with ease. We're so used to the idea of hustle and grind, right? But this is all about inner work, not a physical struggle. The source is clear on this. If you're forcing it, stressing out, trying way too hard, you're actually creating resistance. That tension, that stress, it blocks the most important part of this whole process, which is the inspiration.
And that's the perfect lead-in to what is probably the biggest question mark in all of this. It's the point where most people get confused. So you've done the inner work, right? You've used the tools, you've shifted your frequency. Now what? Does $1 million just magically show up in your bank account? How does this actually translate to the real world?
Well, the answer is a very clear no. Money doesn't just appear out of thin air, and the source material is super specific about this. Shifting your frequency doesn't magically manifest things. What it does is open up a channel for you to receive an inspiration. It's that little nudge, that aha moment, that sudden idea that tells you exactly what you need to do next. And here's the thing. This inspiration usually isn't one giant idea that takes you all the way to the finish line. It's more like a chain of breadcrumbs. You get the first little impulse, and your job is to act on it. When you take that action, it unlocks the next piece of the puzzle, which gives you inspiration number 2. You act on that, and it leads to inspiration number 3. You just have to trust and follow the chain, one link at a time.
And the absolute key here is speed and trust. The source gives a big warning about this. You have to act on these little inspirations immediately. No second guessing, no overthinking it, because if you wait, your logical brain kicks in, doubt starts to creep in, and that little spark of inspiration just fizzles out. And when that happens, the chain is broken.
All right, let's put all the pieces together now. We're going to look at the entire journey, from that first internal shift all the way to a brand new external reality. It's one clear, connected path.
So here's the whole process. It starts inside. First, you use the 4 tools to change your thoughts and beliefs. Second, doing that deliberately shifts your personal frequency. Third, that new frequency opens you up to receive an inspired idea. Fourth, you have to take immediate, trusting action on that idea. And finally, fifth, it's that chain of inspired actions that actually builds and creates your new reality.
So, at the end of the day, this whole framework is built on one really powerful idea, that there are all these different potential futures just waiting for you, right now. And it all just comes down to the frequency you decide to tune into. So the final question here, it isn't just something to think about, it's really a call to action. Which version of you are you going to start choosing today?